Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. I'm pleased to be joined this morning by members of our San Diego congressional delegation, including Congressman Juan Vargas, Congresswoman Sarah, so sorry. It's just a lot of years. I used to work for Susan Davis. Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, never to be confused, the one and only. Congressman Mike Levin, and of course, Congressman Scott Peters, whose district we're in this morning. We also have some of our local partners who are here, particularly at the County of San Diego. Board Chairman Nathan Fletcher, we're in his district as well, and we're expecting Vice Chair Nora Vargas to join us shortly. We're here this morning to mark the closure of San Diego's temporary shelter for unaccompanied migrant children who presented themselves at our southern border seeking refuge from violence and from strife. In late March, just as we were closing down our emergency COVID-19 shelter for people experiencing homelessness, the federal government called on San Diego for help. The number of vulnerable children arriving at our border was overwhelming, and we were asked to create a facility here where children can stay and be reunited with family in this country. I'm proud to say that San Diego did not hesitate to answer that call. Working together in a matter of just a few days, the city, the county, the San Diego Convention Center transformed this facility into a welcoming place where children could receive compassionate case management, medical care, educational programs, legal assistance, and recreational and enrichment activities that let these traumatized children actually feel like they were children once again. Today, nearly 4 months later, I'm incredibly proud of what San Diego has accomplished for these children. In the end, we reunited 2,408 children with family members in the United States. And I'm filled with gratitude for those hundreds of people who responded with caring, with their expertise, and with their unwavering dedication to doing what was needed for these kids. First off, I want to acknowledge Pete Weldy, who led this humanitarian operation on behalf of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Pete, San Diego is so appreciative of what you have done that we've officially named July 15th, 2021 to be Pete Weldy Day in the city of San Diego. We gave Pete a city proclamation yesterday. I know our congressional delegation has something special for you in a moment, Pete. But to you and every member of your federal team, thank you so much for your cooperation, for your collaboration over these months. I also want to thank South Bay Community Services, the lead nonprofit contractor in charge of case management services, who oversaw numerous subcontractors who provided critically important services to these children. South Bay's leader, Kathy Lembo, couldn't make it here today, but we have Mauricio Torre, who is here and who was instrumental in this operation. Mauricio, thank you to you and your team for what you have done. We also want to acknowledge Rady Children's Hospital, as well as the County Office of Education for providing top-notch medical care and educational services throughout this operation. And the educational program here, by the way, became a model for similar emergency intake sites across the country. What we pioneered here in San Diego has been exported to other communities, and other children in other cities are benefiting from what we were able to do here as a city. I also want to thank all the local subcontractors, all the local nonprofits who came into this facility to educate and engage these young people. They are too numerous to mention, but they have the gratitude of all of us standing here today. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank Rip Ripito and the San Diego Convention Center and his team for being our hosts. For the past 15 months, this iconic San Diego facility has been whatever we needed it to be. Whether it was a shelter for literally thousands of unsheltered San Diegans at the start of the pandemic, to now operating for the last number of months as a home for our unaccompanied minors, this facility has stood up and taken on incredible challenges, and they've done it exceptionally well. They've literally brought the eyes of the world to our city, and they have done us proud. So Rip, to you and your team, please thank every single member of the Convention Center team, and I'm looking forward to putting you back to work very, very soon, welcoming tourists back to San Diego. We have conventions starting here in just a few weeks. That's enough from me. I want you to hear from some of my colleagues who made this possible. While the mayor gets a lot of attention, let me be really honest. This would not have worked without the strong support of our federal partners and our local partners. And so I want to bring up my partner in this effort, the one who gave me a call early on a Saturday morning, I thought he just wanted to talk about the weather or something. Next thing I know, we're having thousands of children come. But that's the kind of collaboration you should expect from your city and from your county, that we help each other out, because at the end of the day, most people don't know the difference between what level of government's engaging on this issue. They just want us to solve a problem. And in this case, not only did we solve a problem, but we helped thousands of children. This would not have been possible without the leadership of Chairman Nathan Fletcher. And I ask him to come up and give a few words. Chairman?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all the groups that the Mayor just recognized and outlined. You know, so much in America today, darkness and division dominates so much of what we see and hear and talk about, particularly when it comes to the issue of immigration. A country founded on immigration, a country that put a sign outside its borders saying, "Send us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." We happen to believe we meant that, and we still mean that today. And so the darkness and division did not dominate what happened here. What dominated here was collaboration, empathy, compassion, a desire to do right by these children. Children who, other than the circumstance of the location of their birth, are no different than any of our children. And every child deserves someone to love them, to provide health care, a nutritious meal, a supportive environment, education, recreation, an opportunity to a better future. And what you saw here was your county and your city and your federal partners all coming together to do the right thing. And this is something that we hope to replicate as we move forward, coming together to do the right thing. It was an early Saturday morning, as the mayor alluded. I got a call. Secretary Becerra said, "We need help," and I said, "Of course." And I was like, "Oh, hey, that's not my building." So I called the mayor and said, "Mayor, we need help," and the mayor said, "Of course," and we called Rip, and Rip said, "Of course." We talked to our congressional delegation. They said, "Of course." All of the partners, everyone outlined, because in San Diego, we do the right thing. In spite of any controversy or criticism, we do the right thing. And so I want to, in particular, thank our congressional delegation who stepped up in an incredible way to have the federal government come in and say, "Whatever it is you need, we are here to make this successful." That's a tremendous asset to us when we're here locally. But our congressional delegation didn't just fight for us here on this issue. They fought for us on COVID. San Diego has been touted as a leader in the number of vaccines, a leader in the state, a leader in the entire nation. But the reason we've been able to do that is because our congressional delegation fought to get us the funding we needed to respond to this public health crisis. And whether it is rental assistance or housing assistance or investment in behavioral health, the folks you see standing behind us are representing our communities well. And they are fighting for us here in San Diego. And so to each of the members of Congress who are here, we are incredibly grateful, not just for what you did here, but for what we are doing on an ongoing basis. And for San Diegans out there, you have an opportunity to see your city, your county, your state, your federal government all working together with a shared purpose and shared intention. So my hope is the spirit that we came together in COVID, the spirit that brought us here to the convention center to do right by these children, will be the same spirit that we will carry forward and continue to work to deliver. And so for everyone who was a part of this, we are eternally grateful for everything, and to the members of our congressional delegation, again, here locally, we can't possibly thank you enough for having our back, for being able to break through roadblocks and barriers, for bringing a checkbook to write the check, to pay for what we're doing, and we look forward to all the collaboration ahead. So thank you so much, Mayor, on so many issues we're working on, and a special thank you to our congressional delegation. I have the great fortune at the county every day to go to work with a true leader who was new on the job and jumped right in, not only to support what we were doing, but to literally be here staying all night long, reading to kids, arranging cots, setting up cots, moving. The first immigrant in the history of San Diego County to serve on the Board of Supervisors. It's my pleasure to introduce the Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors and my friend Nora Vargas.
Good morning and buenos dias. It really is a pleasure for me to be here today. And I've said this before, but this is very personal to me as an immigrant and as the first immigrant to serve on the Board of Supervisors. To see the County of San Diego, the city, our congressional delegation come together the way that they have for our children truly has given me so much faith in government, right? This is who we are. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help and be there for people when they really need it. And so I am so proud that San Diegans stepped up and did the right thing. We reunited 2,400 children, as the mayor and my colleagues have said before. But I think what's really important about this is, on day one, I was here and I just was happening, I was just gonna stop by and say hello. It ended up, leaving at 4:30 in the morning or something like that, and seeing the transformation of what these professionals did for our kids from day one all the way to the last child that went home. They treated them with care, dignity, and respect. And that's who we are as San Diegans. And I cannot thank enough the organizations that stepped up, right? Not only our Department of Health and Human Services, but South Bay Community Services, their promotoras. They created programs so that, the little girls who had lice in the hair were able to feel like they were having a spa day. They got creative to make sure that these young little girls felt like somebody cared for them and took care of them. And so thank you to SBC, thank you to the MAG Project, thank you to Rady's Children's Hospital, San Isidro Health, Casa Familiar, our local, state, and federal government leadership. And thank you to all the families of all of the volunteers who were here night and day doing what was right for our little girls and for little boys who were here taking care of us. So I am proud of the work that we've done together. I have no doubt that this is the work that we will continue to do. And again, I am grateful to our congressional delegation, my member of Congress, and the rest. But it is my honor to introduce you to our Congressman, Scott Peters, who's done an exceptional job in being a true partner in this process. Congressman Peters.
Thank you, Nora. 4 months ago, the first group of unaccompanied teenagers and then children arrived here. The network of support they found in San Diego was exactly what we would all have expected from our town. They arrived to find a network of compassionate, caring, skilled, and talented care providers who were ready to do the right thing for these kids during an extremely difficult time in their lives. The Biden administration put out a call, as you heard, and San Diego answered. We took action together, knowing that holding cells were no place for children. My colleagues and I toured this facility when it opened back in March, and I stand by what I said back then. This wasn't meant to be the answer to immigration or asylum reform. This was a moment of compassion. During the past 4 months, countless staff and volunteers cared for these minors' mental health and physical health, and they supplied many things we take for granted: beds and pillows to safely lay heads at night, warm food, space to run and play, comfort, safety. We learned that federal officials trained staff right here in San Diego and used this site as a blueprint for others around the nation. So I want to thank the Biden administration for looking out for better quarters for these unaccompanied minors. I want to thank Mayor Gloria in the city of San Diego, the convention center. I want to thank the county and Nathan for stepping up without any right to do so and saying that we would follow through, and his colleagues at the county. We've set a national example in the face of this challenge. Today we celebrate that over 2,000 children and adolescents were released to sponsors from this intake center. We also fulfilled the commitment we made to fully reopen the convention center to revive San Diego's tourism sector that took a major hit during this pandemic. Organizers are already gearing up for events next month, the first in-person convention in over 18 months. In fiscal year 2019, the San Diego Convention Center had a $1.3 billion regional economic impact, hosting 143 events for almost 837,000 people. And it's time to get back to business. I want to say, too, that the collaboration you see up here among the officials and all the people out here is something in San Diego we have come to take for granted, but it is not always that way in other places. In fact, it may not even be common. So it's really exceptional that this spirit of collaboration has continued. I think we've really showed well in this episode. And now we move forward knowing that our convention center, a cornerstone of our hospitality sector, was the most gracious of hosts. Provided shelter and comfort to strangers in need here for a short stay. Now returns to its role as a major economic engine that supports tens of thousands of jobs for people who call San Diego home. So thank you all for being here, and I'd now be happy to turn over to my friend and colleague, Juan Vargas.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by sharing my really immense amount of gratitude for everyone that made this so successful. It if you take a look around, you look at the convention center, but when the children were here, this was their Ellis Island. This was their Statue of Liberty. This is where they came because they needed help, and San Diegans stepped forward. And they stepped forward in an incredible way. And I really want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Nathan Fletcher, Nora Vargas. That's what leadership looks like. When you see that there's a problem, when you see that these children needed help, they didn't run around questioning what are the politics of it. They knew that they had to immediately help these children. These are children. And they did that. And they brought us all together, and we all worked together, and again, proved that San Diego is America's finest city. And I want to thank everyone that was involved. A lot of people have already been thanked, and I know that people are going to thank you in a special way in a little bit, but South Bay Community Services, everyone that came together did this with compassion, with love, and they did it for the right reason. These were children. Now, some of those of us who love the scripture remember the passage that the little children, do not block them, let them come to me. Children are so special in our traditions, in our religious traditions. And so again, I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank San Diego. And I also have to say, I juxtapose this as to what happened a few years back. You may recall that there was a busload of children, unaccompanied minors, that came up the road from San Diego a little bit, and they were greeted with jeers and smears and people smashing their hands and hitting the bus and scaring the children to death, so much so that they weren't able to even go to the site where they were supposed to be. And you juxtapose that to San Diego, where you had leadership at the highest level here, the city, the county, and then of course all of us other partners stepping in and saying, these are children, they did nothing wrong, nothing at all. In fact, just the opposite. They did what their parents asked them to do. We have to step in and help. And we did that in a way that I think that's not only very appropriate, but again, proves that we're America's finest city. So again, thank you to each and every one of you that participated in this. Thank you to San Diego. Muchísimas gracias. Tuvimos estos niños que vinieron aquí, que los padres los mandaron. Y entonces aquí, esto realmente era su Ellis Island, esto era su no sé cómo se dice Statue of Liberty en español, pero esta era su estatua de la libertad. Y entonces quiero dar las gracias a todos que están aquí, especialmente al alcalde, al presidente aquí municipal, a Todd, Gloria, y también al condado. Dar las gracias aquí a nuestro amigo Nathan Fletcher y por supuesto a Nora Vargas. Muchísimas gracias por todo el apoyo que nos dieron y especialmente a estos niños. San Diego de nuevo prueba que realmente es la ciudad más fina de los Estados Unidos, porque recibimos a estos niños como niños, los ayudamos con caridad, con amor, y pudieron reunirse con sus padres, con sus familias. Por eso muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes, a todos los que estaban envueltos aquí en esto. De nuevo, muchísimas gracias. Now I have the great privilege and honor of introducing my good friend and colleague, a new colleague with lots of energy, Sarah Jacobs.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here with you. And I first want to extend my gratitude to the Department of Health and Human Services, to South Bay Community Services, to every single person who worked tirelessly, literally didn't sleep, to make sure that the kids here were able to get what they needed. On behalf of a very grateful nation, thank you for your service, and now please take a nap. When the convention center first opened as an emergency intake site back in March, my top priority was for us to remember that the people in our care were children, and that we had a responsibility to care for them. And I'm so proud that we were able to house 3,000 kids who needed a safe place. And I'm so proud that amidst all of the political noise, we were able to stay focused on their humanity. And I've visited some of these other sites across the country, and I have to tell you, every single one has told me San Diego was the model. San Diego was who they looked to when they wanted to know how to do something well. San Diego is a proud border community, and I know my colleagues here today are just as proud as I am that our city was able to step up, open our doors, and serve those who needed it. And I think it's important to reiterate that people from Central America, people from the Caribbean, people from around the world have a right to seek asylum and refuge in the United States. We have a moral and legal obligation to help them. Seeking asylum is legal under both United States and international law. And while San Diego's role in this immediate effort has ended, I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues in Washington to build a system that restores order, fairness, and dignity to our legal asylum processes and keeps families together. So thank you all so much, and I'm delighted to now turn it over to my colleague, Congressman Mike Levin.
Well, I want to echo the comments of my colleagues in thanking Mayor Gloria and Supervisor Fletcher, Chairman Fletcher, and Supervisor Vargas and the board, and everybody that's been involved in this project these last several months. When we got together back in March, I remember mentioning that this is a compassionate community and that we were going to show compassion to these children. That's exactly what you've all done. Because of your hard work, 2,400 children now have a brighter future. And when I think about this artwork behind us, and I see the word hope, Esperanza, and I think about the future that we have created together, I think of my own grandparents, my mom's parents, who came from Mexico when they too were children many decades ago, in hope that they could have the American dream. Little did they know that their youngest grandson would someday become a member of Congress. When I think about that hope for these children, I think about the hard work that went in to these last 4 months. I know that that's who we are as Americans. It's certainly reflective of this great community in San Diego. It's reflective of our highest values, our ideals, and who we aspire to be as Americans. So my great hope is that collectively we can help turn down the temperature on some of this rhetoric, and that we can focus on uniting the nation around those types of ideals, that we can have immigration policy that ensures security but also humanity, and that we don't forget who we aspire to be as Americans. So with that, I want to thank everybody involved, and I want to turn it back over to Mayor Gloria.
Thank you, Mike. Actually, I want to invite Pete Weldy up and then turn it back over to our congressional delegation. I think we're in Congressman Peters' district, so I'll ask him to come up to make a special presentation. In the congressional delegation, please.
So the federal government is full of, as you know, of faceless bureaucrats. And we wanted to show you a face of one who worked so hard and showed so much heart and compassion for the people who are here and really got the job done and led a lot of people too. So I know you take this not just for yourself but for your team, but we really wanted to call out Pete Weldy, who's the Regional Administrator at the Department of Health and Human Services here, and just recognize his advocacy and tireless work on behalf of all the folks who are here. He helped manage the reunification of over 2,300 unaccompanied migrant children. And as I said, when we came and toured the facility, which was being unused, the homeless program had ended. This was a facility that was open for a good purpose. You really managed it well. And we want to thank you for your work, and to your team, we want to extend our thanks to them as well. We're very, very proud of the work that the federal government did here with the cooperation of the city and the county. Pete, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You did a great job. Great job.
Thank you for all your hard work, Pete.
So let me just conclude by, again, thanking Pete. Unsung hero, as my friend Scott Peters said, I believe deeply in public service. Pete is a wonderful representative of public service and servants. He has moved his whole life here to San Diego. He's going back to his home in San Francisco shortly. But we see good people here, Pete, so you're always welcome back in America's finest city. I want to conclude with just one additional thing I'd like to share with you all. I know as members of the media, many of you were interested in having access to this facility while the children were here. And I want you to have that access as well in order to be as transparent as possible during this particular process. But I recognized that the children's privacy and their safety had to come first, and I know that many of you recognized that and respected that, and I thank you. Knowing that we could not bring you in, myself, my team, Supervisor Fletcher, Supervisor Vargas were here regularly, keeping a close eye on the operations that were here in San Diego to make sure they met our high standard of care and of compassion. And I can tell you definitively that that was exactly what we did here. There were no tinfoil blankets, there were no chain link fences, none of that. What we had is exceptional care for many, many children that, as you've heard from our members of Congress, have been replicated at other facilities across this nation. As we conclude these operations here, I think San Diegans can be proud of what we've accomplished as a community. This spoke to the very best of who we are as a city, and I look forward to taking the lessons learned from this experience and making sure we use them to the benefit of other challenges that we have in this city. Regional collaboration, city, county, federal partners, nonprofit partners, utilizing public assets like this great facility. We can get a lot of big and important things done. Let's do some more of that in the weeks, months, and years ahead. So thank you all. We're available for one-on-one interviews. Thank you all very much for being here today.